Please welcome veteran superhero Amber Bell. Today, she'll be showcasing premiering content in her session, GP User to GP Superhero 2023 edition. Please stick around after Amber's session for a live Q&A.
I'm really excited to be speaking again at DynamicsCon Virtual March 2023. I can't believe how many we've been able to do. And I'm so thankful to the folks over at Dynamic User Groups for taking care of this. It's a lot of work. If you guys don't realize, like, to get all of these volunteers together, get all the voting in, it's a lot of work, and it's amazing because I know for myself, I'm looking forward to a bunch of the sessions I voted for. So hopefully you enjoy the session today. As we go through the slides and the demo today, as questions come up, make sure you type those in. So no matter if it's over here or over there, type those questions in. And as we're going, I'll be tempted to type the answer right away, but I want to try to save some so that at the end, when we have that 10-minute question and answer, I can answer them live for you. So make sure if you have questions, type those in. These sessions are all, as you know, recorded, so you'll be able to go to the YouTube channel and watch them later. If you've never gone to the DynamicsCon YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to that. You can go to that because at this point, several of the presenters have done a bunch of different sessions and they're all available. So some of the things that I thought of adding, I kept it out of it because I go, you know what, they can watch last year's session. They can watch last season's one that we did. So they're out there, they're available, they're free. So take advantage of it. There's some really good content out there already. So I want to make sure you know that. So today, the session that I'm doing is GP User to GP Superhero, the 2023 edition. And I was telling a friend of mine I met for lunch earlier that as I do these, sometimes I just get in my head, man, I wish everybody knew how to do this. And even if it's something that I'm worried about some of the stuff I'm showing, because you might go, oh my goodness, that's so basic. Everyone does that. But I promise you, especially what I'm starting with, I can't tell you how many people, and I'll tell you some real life things people have said to me and why they've skipped doing this. So you're on the edge of your seat. You'll see what I'm going to talk about. I've included other things. So if you're bored by the first couple slides, just relax, have a cup of coffee. But we'll have more things coming up that apply to a lot of different people. So first of all, a little bit about me. I don't like doing long bios. That's one thing about me. But I have a lot on LinkedIn if you want to follow me there. But I've done GP for over 20 years. So I decided to show you guys what it looked like when I started. I was a child prodigy, kindergarten. They pulled me out and they asked me to be in GP. I'm just kidding. So that's just me a long time ago. I almost put a Wonder Woman on there's the Wonder Woman issue #1. She's on a horse. And you don't even know, it took longer to figure out if I could put both on the same slide than it did to do a lot of the other slides. So I gave up. But anyways, follow me on LinkedIn, my website, socials, everything is Training Dynamo. I have a couple books that I've written and some of the tips I cover are in those books if you ever want to take a look at those. Okay. Now, I know that Scrooge McDuck does not qualify as a superhero. I can't tell you how many times when I'm talking about money, I have used Batman. He is very wealthy. I thought of using Lex Luthor, and he just looked too scary and didn't look very rich. So I just wanted you to think about money. And so I picked Scrooge McDuck. So Darkwing Duck is a superhero. So I kind of figured we'd be adjacent to that. But you can't do anything if you don't know how much money you have. And I can't tell you, even to this day, how many people are reconciling outside of GP. Even if it's one of their checkbooks, they're doing it in Excel. And it's because what I've heard from people is, oh, well, we never used BankRec when we first started. So our partner told us, you can't use BankRec. Like, it's too late. I had somebody tell me, oh, my partner told me we had to set up all new checkbooks because we didn't start it at the beginning. That same customer, I'm not kidding, we started on the phone call when they told me that. I think we did one, maybe two more phone calls. We got it done. I mean, and this wasn't 400 hours each. I'm going to show you how we did it today. And the reason I'm doing that is now there's electronic bank rec out there. I can't talk. There's electronic bank rec out there. There's third parties out there that do bank rec, and all of those are great and wonderful. But if you have a mess and you feel like you can't figure it out, we're going to talk about how to catch that up. Now, the other thing about getting things cleaned up is as you're upgrading, as you're thinking of maybe if you're going to move to another, BC, or you're going to do something else, no matter what your situation is, if they're a mess, someone in your company is putting band-aids on instead of dealing with the problem. And we want to get over that today. Okay. So the first thing is priority one, how much money do you have? So start with something that you can prove. So you're going to find out from a bank statement, look at your bank activity, and starting with that number. And then we want to figure out what would make that different from the general ledger. So things like uncleared checks and bank deposits in transit. And then you want to figure out if transactions are being entered the right way in GP. We're going to look at that today. The two things on the bottom, we're going to talk about those and how to catch those up. Are people doing journal entries to the cash account? I had a customer who didn't know they could do a transfer. They just didn't. Literally, it's the next transaction type right under, right there. Their eyes just didn't see it. And that happens to us. We look at the screen 1,000 times. We're frustrated. We figure out how to do it the wrong way. And that's what we do every single time. So we're going to talk about how to do the bank deposits, bank transfers. If you want me to, during question and answer, I can point at those. I can talk about those. We're going to just talk about two things that literally I've had customers lately that have done 25 years of not doing this. So we're going to talk about that today. Okay. So the first thing is I have a customer who loves this window. We literally have this. She's one of the CFO / owners of the company she works at. And once we showed her this window for her checkbooks, she has this as a shortcut on her homepage, a shortcut on her navigation list. She loves being able to come in and take a look at her checkbooks in one quick window. We also have inactivated checkbooks. We filtered those out. So there's things we can do with that. So inside of GP, if we go to financial here, on this sidebar, we're going to see our checkbooks. Now this is a regular old navigation list. And with this navigation list, we can take this and we might want to add it to the homepage, or we might want to add some other, make some changes to it. I'm going to do a save as real quick. And I'm just going to, this is a bonus tip. I did not have it in my slides. But as soon as you do a save as, we're going to just say, you get to see my typos in live real time. Navigation list, checkbooks. Why did I say the word navigation list? You're going to see in just a second. It's going to save underneath here. And now it says customize, and I can go into my columns and I can add my user defined. I can add my currency for those of you working with multiple currencies, and the bank and user defined and all that. We can also adjust the actions and all of that, but right now we're just going to keep it simple. And what we're going to do is add this to the home navigation pane, and we're also going to add to the home page by clicking this drop down. Once we do that, now if we go back to home, this is what I set up for my customer, and you'll see over here, navigation list. You see I do it for lots of stuff. Checkbooks, click it, I'm back in this window. So that's a great way to check on your checkbooks. It's a really awesome way. So next thing, why use navigation lists? Number one, easy to filter. You can add an unlimited number of filters. This works for customers, for vendors, for items, for employees, for GL accounts. Manufacturing, I did a call the other day with some other GP consultants, and we're going to do a call offline with someone who specializes in manufacturing. We're going to do some cool stuff with navigation lists. Other reason is one window, I got key information on my checkbooks. One window, I could do vendors and customers as well. I love that I see my last reconciled information and my current balance right in window. The other thing that I like is that I can get right into doing transactions. So right from here, I can do an increase adjustment right from here, and it auto fills in the checkbook ID. If I was on a vendor, I'm just going to continue out of there, it would autofill the vendor, etc. So using navigation lists, the other day when I was training other consultants, I said, we get used to how we might have learned to navigate all this 100 years ago. When a user and a person who's new to GP or is frustrated with GP, once they learn they can use these lists, oh my goodness, it's a million times easier. So navigation list, number one, awesome. You can also jump from here into doing reports. So I can come from here, I can print the list. And if I was in payables or receivables, I could do an aged trial balance. From here, I can also jump to my inquiry windows as well. Next thing you want to do is you want to compare the checkbook versus the GL balance. These should be the same. In GP, you cannot do a journal entry to the checkbook and automatically update the balance of the checkbook. It's a separate ledger. It's your checkbook, your bank rec ledger, and the checkbook's its own thing. And then what you do is you do the transactions as bank transactions to update the general ledger. I can't correct things, back things out, do transfers as journal entries, and so many people do that it throws this off. I'm going to show you on the next slide something that throws it off. And I found something interesting. By the way, I used the GP test company and I figured out something crazy about how they have their setup. And sometimes in my mind, I pretend they do it wrong for Amber Bell to find it, to show you guys bad stuff. So I do not, this is a sneak preview of something funky about First Bank you're going to see in just a minute. So what causes the checkbook not to equal the general ledger? Well, the first thing we're going to talk about is undeposited receipts. So what is that? When you do cash receipts for customers, or if you're going to do bank transaction receipts, those used to never automatically deposit. Now, bonus tip, and I should have added a slide. I thought about it afterward and I forgot to add it. I'm just going to show you here. Under administration, under setup company, under options, there's a brand new option that came a couple versions ago, but there's a brand new feature that kicked in literally in October. So with automatically post cash receipt deposits, this is a bonus thing. If I do a deposit batch, I'm just going to bring this over and show you receivables. I would normally put my initials and date, This is a little bonus. This is the brand new feature, and I love this feature. Post deposit in summary, meaning instead of when it goes to the general, it's going to automatically create that deposit as one deposit rolled together, like 10 different checks become one deposit, or it can create the transactions individually. So like if I get a whole bunch of wire payments, those are going to hit my checkbook individually. If I get ACHs, they're going to hit individually. So this post transaction or summary, super awesome. One of my favorite changes that has been added, and that will alleviate this problem. But we're talking about someone who's never caught it up. Journal entries to the cash account, same GL on multiple checkbooks. People have done deposits without receipts, not knowing what it does. They might have done clear deposits, not knowing what it does. And then any unposted journal entries. You could be perfectly fine and have a batch of unposted journal entries and freak out. Always check if you have everything posted in the GL before you freak out about if it's out of balance. Okay. The GL to checkbook issue number 1 is undeposited receipts. Now, I spent way too long literally doing every deposit for my checkbook, this fake checkbook. I think I might have a few left. I'll show you. It's much better. I got it caught up to like 1 month left over. So we're going to take a look and show you. I did it last night, and it was a huge number of undeposited items. And I wanted to show you what it looks like in the bank rec window. So I took the time to do individual just to show you. So bank deposits, we're going to come in and we're going to look at Uptown Trust. Now I cleaned this up quite a bit. Now we're down to just these ones that are left over. Now these are undeposited. So if I look at my checkbook balance, I actually messed up my checkbook balance. We'll talk about that later because I think I have it in balance. And if I deposit those, I would now be over in the cash account because I did some fixes yesterday, and we'll talk about how I overdid my fixes in a bit. So we've got these deposits that are these receipts that are not deposited. And what we would need to do is then deposit them. So we can pick the deposits or the date, the ones we want to select, put the date we want to do. And now we're going to go ahead and post. There is not a batch for Deposits is just posted. Now there's there's actually 4 other kinds. We're just talking about the middle 2 right now that can also be used. One, and I have some slides on this I want to make sure and show you guys. So first thing is, there is a smart list called bank transactions. And I'm going to, so you're starting with smart list financial bank transactions, but the built-in one is very generic and it's not filtered to just receipts that are not deposited. So we're going to go back. I'll show you what it ends up looking like. I'll put that other slide up. And then if you want, this will be recorded. This is being recorded. It'll be available. If you want, I'll put the slides up or give them to DynamicsCon. We'll get you the slides, so don't worry about that. But what you're going to do is we're going to add some columns, and we're also going to use the search to do a filter. So the columns that we're going to add, we're going to take a look at that. Just go back to the other screen. Hold on one second. Make sure I got this. Okay. So the columns that I added were checkbook ID, receipt number, received from, receipt amount, receipt date, GL posting date, that's optional, but if you have wacky dates, good idea. Receipt type, that's going to be if it's check or cash, etc. The description, that's optional, but it's nice to know. And source document, deposit number. If the deposit number isn't blank, it means it's an unposted deposit. So you want to go back. You can save the deposit if it's, but you don't have batches. So it's just going to be that deposit number. Okay. These are the filters that I do. So the first one is you would think, if you were me last night, well, I was finishing up yesterday, be honest, when I was working on this, that it would be document type is equal to receipt. I don't know why, but it's document status is equal to receipt is the one that works. So you want document status is equal to receipt. I guess receiving is an action as well as a receipt is a thing that happens from an action. So I guess you could figure out a way to make it make sense. Deposit is equal to no, voided is equal to no. When you're adding columns to filter, make sure you're filtering on all columns because I don't show that document status here. So when we're adding columns, you're going to see all columns and then add all of those. We're going to add this as a favorite. This is a general rule for SmartList. If you've done all that work, you've added all those columns, you've added all those filters, click add and then add favorite, or add favorite and reminder if you want it to come up on your home page with a count or a dollar total. If you've already done a SmartList, this is a SmartList screenshot for one that's coming up. You can also make a change and then hit modify, and that will save over the SmartList that's there. Okay. Any kind of deposit does not create any changes to the GL balance, the checkbook balance for the general ledger. Doesn't create journal entries at all. It does change. Oh my goodness, this is a typo. It does change. Oh, this one. No. Deposit to clear unused receipt. See, this is me overthinking. Deposit to clear unused receipt is literally just getting rid of these undeposited receipts. If you have never done a cleanup, you're going to do a deposit. You might want to do a deposit to clear unused receipts and just pick everything. I had a client who had never done it from like 2004 through current. So did we want to go through and try to do deposits for a bunch? No, we did 6 months at a time or 3 months at a time or a year at a time, depending on their volume, and we get rid of them. Catch up quickly. When would you skip? You don't want to go in here and do this if the right thing is that it's a void. Like if I go in here and go, oh, this shouldn't have been done like on payroll. We didn't get money from this customer into our payroll account. Oh, I'm going to do a clear unused receipts. What you should do instead is void the cash receipt. That'll automatically remove it from the undeposited receipts. And then you could enter in the right checkbook. Deposit with receipts does update the checkbook balance, but it does not ever create a journal entry or change the balance of the GL account. But it's going to increase the balance of the checkbook. If you are depositing voided checks, I have an AR cash receipt for $1,000. I deposit it. A couple days later, bank, or even in the next time I get a statement, the bank says that bounced or is an NSF, it'll actually create a negative receipt in here for the receivables check being voided. So you could get a negative deposit. You're not just going to get positive. So just know that there's wacky things that happen. Deposit without receipts. This doesn't have any receipts. There's no guts to it. It's just a dollar amount. It's going to update the checkbook balance. This is a really good thing to know to do if over the last billion years you've done everything as journal entries to this checkbook and now you're trying to catch up. Don't worry about the journal entries. Just get the balance right with this deposit without receipts. And you see that's what I'm doing in that screenshot. It's not going to update the GL at all. It's just updating the balance. You can also do it as a negative. The one that I just did, I forgot that I had those undeposited receipts for Uptown Trust. So in my corrections, I overdid it. I made the amount too high in my corrections. So I would do a deposit without receipts to back out the wackiness I did. So you'll see that in just a second. Okay. Next is, now I know I told you guys that if you already do bank rec, you might be going, this is boring. And I know it's halfway done, but I promise there's other stuff coming. But we're going to talk about deposit to clear unused receipts. That just zaps them out. Okay. Now, when you do a cleanup bank rec, you can sort it by the date, begin the range, literally scroll, hit the bottom one you want to pick. And if it's 10, 100 years, do them, one at a time, begin range, end range, and then mark. And that'll mark a whole bunch at the same time. And I'll show you what mine looks like because it's in the middle of being reconciled. So I'll show you what it looks like. So here's my Uptown Trust. You'll see there's my ending balance. We're going to say yes. And I just literally went through and I did begin range, end range up here. And I checked one and I said begin range. I'll just uncheck a couple so you'll see. I went like this, begin range. And then I went to the bottom one and I said end range. And then I did mark. And then it just marks those. Now that I did 4, big deal, but this could be millions and millions of rows. So if it's a million rows, maybe do a couple of them to catch you up. Okay, next. Okay. Other thing that can happen, and this is not just for bank recs. So those of you who are sleeping, wake up, it's time to get, this is something that can help you with other control accounts, payables, AP, AR, the inventory account. Look, you're going to add some columns, and then what we're going to do is, these are the columns we're adding, the journal entry, the series, the debit, credit, account info. But what we're going to do is filter to source document equals GJ. That is the general journal. Those are ones entered as journal entries. So now what we're going to see is anything that was added directly, and I'll show you what it ends up looking like. I do this all the time for customers to help them figure out why payables, receivables are out of balance. There is I don't even have it in the slides today, but there is a reconcile to GL for the checkbook. I've covered it in other sessions. But this is the one that I just did today, just to show you. So you can see that you can see these are the different transactions that were done, and we can back those out. We can figure out what's going on with those. If it's a million years ago and you don't want to back those out, that's where that deposit without receipts come in to catch you up. Figure out what these were and then do the deposit without receipts. Okay. You can do a custom smart list using Smart List Designer or Builder. Since Smart List Designer comes with GP, I show that in the screenshots. On my website, I do have stuff on Builder. Every partner in the whole world pretty much should know how to use Smart List Builder if you have that instead. But what you're going to be able to do is to create a report from tables that you don't normally see. So what I did was I went to financial, and you'll see this, go back over here and close this out. Okay, so if I come into here, just going to move this down, and we're going to look at the one that I created. Actually, I did the checkbook setup. In here, what I did was Microsoft Dynamics GP plus tables, and then I went to plus by financial, and I found that CM checkbook master, and I added the fields that I wanted. With Designer, you see only the GL account index, so I connected it to the account master table. You'll see that here, showing the account number, and down here you can see here's the information I added from that table. I might want to go back over here and add the account description, which should be one of these. Here we go. And I can update it, and now we can see my account description with that. Okay. Now, what I noticed, and I think I have a slide for this coming up, is that there are two checkbooks set up with the same GL account. I had a customer once who said, our partner told us, now there's wonderful partners and there's people that make big mistakes, and they made a mistake. They told us to set up one checkbook for payables and one for receivables. We ended up having to inactivate one and then bring over open transactions as, either in and out of the same account or did a journal entry. We got them over into one checkbook. I looked, and this checkbook doesn't have any history. I would be able to just delete it. I would recommend, if it's never been used, deleting it, or at the very least inactivating it so you get rid of it. Okay, so there you can see there was no history. I just looked on that window, and it was assigned to an unposted batch. I just deleted the batch, and I was able to delete. This is how I would do the cleanup reconciliation. If you haven't done it in years, you want to do it small groups at a time. Don't pick 200 years. The time it takes to select all that and post it'll make you cuckoo. Do it in smaller batches. Okay. Another one that I like to add is the smart list for reconciliation details. This lets you see. Now, if we go back to here, and we're just going to go here and say yes. This one's ready to reconcile. I can print and I can show you what we marked, just because you can see. I marked quite a bit on here. So that's the stuff I've marked to clear. And we're just going to hit reconcile, and I'm not going to print the reports. Oops, I forgot. Let's just say I forgot. Now, if I go to my bank rec list, if it's finishing, you'll see that what it does is now I can see the audit trail code for when I did my bank rec, and I could use that to reprint. The newest version of GP, you can actually now filter for checkbook ID and bank statement date to now reprint. In the old version, you had to figure out what the heck the audit trail code is. So this is good for anyone not running anything from October 2022. Okay, we're going to keep on going. Okay. Clean up customers. Do not waste your time chasing the wrong customers for money. Don't go around Gotham chasing the wrong people. Don't go chasing waterfalls. You got to figure out who you can get to money from. So if you are running and aging and it looks like you filter out everybody that's a zero balance, you might not realize that you have a whole lot of customers with unapplied payments. Same with vendors. This can cause issues if you do any automations or automatic collections or workflows that look on, do they have anything in the 61 and over? This would look at the 61 and over and go, oh, they're way past due. Well, we never applied the payment. So you want to check for that, maybe run the aging once in a while, including zero balance, or just use this receivables smart list that's unapplied documents. I add the column for customer balance. Now I can see, hey, why are they on here in unapplied when they're zero, or in this case, they're 58 cents. So if they are zero, that means that the amount of the returns and credits and payments, they equal the amount of the open invoices, debit memos, etc., service repairs. I need to go to the sales, transactions, apply receivables documents window, and we can just do that for Coho Winery and show you. And just going to close all windows, and we'll just say save. I don't even know. Okay. So we're going to go to sales, and we're going to go to apply, and we're going to go to Coho in here. Okay. So now if we take a look here, and now we've got this, and we can either auto apply or go through one at a time and apply. And then if we take a look, is there anything else open for them? That was all they had. And then, oops, I'll go ahead and close this out. And we'll just click OK. And now if we reran it, they would be zeroed out. Now, the other thing we can do is if we have a customer set up, so these people that have 58 cents and $1.44, we can take a look at the customer. I kind of went back forward, and we'll go back in 1 second on the slide. On the customer options, you can check, are they allowing write-offs? Please don't set anyone to unlimited. Oh my goodness, you could say $1 bajillion. It could create a write-off for that. It won't ever automatically do it, but you could do something really crazy on accident. Maximum, pick a number that you're comfortable with. If you need to get approval from your tax professional, if you need to talk to your whomever, do that. If you make it $1, you can get rid of pennies without getting into something cuckoo. But figure out a max that makes sense. And then also the accounts that will be used. And if you want a separate account for overpayments and underpayments, you can do that. If you use a single account or set of accounts for everybody, do it in the admin setup posting accounts window. Okay, so now what we're going to do is get into this actual window. So that's going to be under sales. And security wise, you know, this, and not everybody should be allowed to do this. You want to restrict this, but I'm going to come in here and say up to $5. And I don't want to hit process first. I'm going to hit preview. Now, earlier, I think I did it with 10. We'll say $10 just because you'll see a few more. Hit preview. Okay. So now what this is going to do is it will create a credit memo and zap out these dollars for me. I can actually zoom in and see what it is for. So there's 10 cents, this $1.44. Oh, that's a whole bunch of ones they short paid by a couple pennies. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm going to hit process. And now what we're going to get is all these posting journals. By the way, you can turn those off in administration setup, posting, turn off the ones you don't need. And you can see what this is creating. And then we can close this. And you can see again, it hits AR and bad debt expense and zaps those out. If it's over a certain dollar amount, I'd prefer, anyone I work with, I would say do a credit memo because now I can put descriptions and notes and all of that. But if it's little pennies, why waste your time? Okay. Check the dates for the aging and the paid transaction removal if you go to your setup, the AR setup window. So what we're going to do is under sales, setup receivables. The reason we're going to do that is the tables for purchase orders, the tables for receivables, and the tables for sales order processing, they can get stuck or stay in open, even if they're fully paid. For AR, it stays in the open tables until you push to history. And the way you can tell if anyone's ever done that is going to the receivable setup and see the paid transaction last removed date. Now, you want to check that customers are set to save history. So you can do this in a smart list. I've actually done this in other sessions over time, but I'll just quick show you. Everyone is set here to maintain history. You can make a smart list for all these history ones and just double check they're all checked. You know, they're all set to yes. But what we're going to do is go into routines and we're going to go to paid transaction removal. I don't want to run it as of today because what if I haven't found out from the bank if things haven't cleared? But I could just do 12/31/26 in my test company, 12/31/26. And I can also do it in groups, in ranges. I've never done it. If I've never done it and I have a huge volume, I might pick one customer at a time that are the big customers and just do 6 months at a time or 3 months at a time if I have huge volume. But we're going to hit process and we'll just go to screen with this and keep going. So this is going to run. And while that's running, we'll keep going on slides. Okay. AP and PO cleanup. Navigation lists for printing, receiving, and copying purchase orders. I love this. And when I showed somebody, this was a huge thing for them that they could copy POs. You can come into this. Again, the navigation lists are going to be on the side of the screen. And when you check the box by the purchase order, you'll notice right here at the top of the screen, I'll show you this in just a second, see if this report, there we go. So these are the things that move to history. I don't have that much in my test company. And even without that, you can see that 200 documents got moved to history. Okay. If I go to purchasing and we go to PO transactions, and we're going to do this one. This is one that I just did. Okay. I want any POs where the status is new, released, or change order. Now, if I have PO holds enabled, you can see that this PO is on hold, but you can copy POs. You can also come from here right into doing your receiving. You can also go into receiving and invoicing as well. So navigation lists is a great way to work with them. Now, POs do not automatically go to history. This screenshot we have up, I felt okay taking it from a customer because I blurred out the name of the customer. You can't see it. And their PO number is just a number, so you can't figure out who they are. They had never moved POs to history, and they have a lot of POs. And that means anytime you're doing any inquiries or reports, the system has to chug through all of those instead of anything that's been fully received and invoiced not even being part of that inquiry or that query to the database. If for them, we are not going to do it all at one time, because I tried to run it in their test environment and I had to just pick small groups, but this will clean up and make those tables faster. We can do a similar thing we just did that for receivables. We moved it to history. We can do a similar thing, and I didn't put it in a slide, but I'm always all about bonus slides during demos. I have a customer who we will do this. I'll go into utilities. I turned it off. They have a whole lot of back orders, and then they end up canceling the quantity. We have to use this all the time, the remove completed documents. And what that will do is, if you have an order in sales order processing and they ordered 100, you shipped 95 out and you canceled 5. Even though the balance remaining is 0, the system won't push it to being historical because it was a mixture of canceled and fulfilled. So this will actually do that. I'll see if it has time to run that report for us. I don't have any, mine's not that exciting. I have a customer who literally we do that every couple months, and it's pages and pages because they have quite a lot that gets cleaned up. But for POs, they don't automatically get set to saying they're historical. And where you'll see that, as long as your purchasing is set to save history, set up purchase order processing, we're saving history and all of that right here where it says maintain history, this section here. If we go to that routine and it's remove completed, you can come in and do a range. So I'm going to say 02/01/27 through 02/28/27, and I'll hit insert. I don't have any because it's not that exciting. We'll put 01/01/27 to 04/30/27. We're not going to really run it, so we're going to hit remove and see if anything. That's fine. Hit insert and let's see if anything comes up. Nope. Okay, that's why I did a screenshot from my customer, because I don't have that many in the test company. But what it looks like is this when you hit on the restrictions, and then you can choose to process or cancel. If you go, oh, no, this one needs to stay. If you move them to history, you can't do a return on them. So don't do them from as of today. You might want to go back 6 months. You might want to go back a year, but at least you're not letting those tables get cuckoo. There's a built-in smart list for vendor review. One of the things I'm thinking of doing in one of my upcoming sessions is even more about cleaning up your data. I know there's quite a lot of people that do that. If you've not had any work from them for years, it's not a bad idea to then start inactivating. You can use navigation lists to inactivate. You can inactivate with an integration. You can also inactivate with a macro. So finding out who should be reviewed and inactivated for customers and vendors is a good idea. Okay. I am doing really good for time because I watch my time so you guys can see. We do have time for question and answers. I hope that this helps you. If you start to clean up these wacky things, like you get rid of wacky things in bank rec, and I know I spent longer than normal, but I feel like a lot of times in these sessions, people that are your consultants or everybody, we're trying to do stuff that's, big boom, wow, crazy stuff, but I'm not even kidding you. I can't tell you how many times that has come up. So I figured now I can point people to this session on YouTube and say, you got to watch the first half or the first 15, 20, whatever minutes it was. And then also get into cleaning up your customers, vendors, purchase orders. So I hope this helped you. We are going to do question and answers. I know that I talk fast. I'll tell you a tip on YouTube. You can click the little gear and say speed, put me at a lower speed, and you'll know that literally I tried to get more bang for your buck by talking fast. If you make me talk slow, I can, but per word, I'm way cheaper than any other consultant out there. So again, my name's Amber Bell. I'm from Training Dynamo. Thank you again to everybody at Dynamics User Group and everyone that's running DynamicsCon. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the event and enjoyed my session. Talk to you guys in Q&A, wherever that is.